Hey everybody, Richard Brooke here. Got Adam Green here.
Tail end of a 4-day vacation in beautiful Lanai, Hawaii.
Yeah, it was so awesome to have he and Vanessa here visiting us. This is, I think, the third time they visited us here, and we've been to their beautiful, I don't know if it's a farm or a compound or a mansion or what it is in Kelowna, British Columbia, but we love vacationing with each other and hanging out and traveling and talking business and personal development and family and real estate and investments and everything fun.
Yeah, just a few topics, light conversation.
In the midst of golfing and whale watching and snorkeling and surfing and a lot of pickleball. We played a lot of pickleball.
Played a lot of pickleball. My knees hurt.
His knees hurt. My ego hurts. So Adam and I thought we'd have a conversation. I've got some questions I want to ask him about coaching and, just like what impact that's had on his life and how important it is to have a coach and what kind of insights he has around that, because he has definitely not 10x'd his life. He's 100x'd his life, and he's got some pretty profound thoughts on it. So what are they?
Well, this is our third time visiting you here. We've, again, spent plenty of time together, and we're at like a total of 12 to 13-ish years of a business transaction, of coaching. And I was lucky to have found Richard and his mentorship earlier on in my career. I think there's a lot of people who find success at a younger age and they squabble it. They... They just are irresponsible. They don't know what to do with it. I think at any age, if you come into something that you weren't expecting, you're not equipped to handle, you can ruin the opportunity, or at least not maximize on your upside. And I was fortunate enough to have had some coaching early enough on that I was able to maximize, I think, my upside. And we were talking today while we were golfing, and I was just looking out at the water. And we've spent 4 days here kind of living their life, their lifestyle, and it's very apparent to me that they've intentionally designed their life. And his coaching has really allowed me to do that. Where we live now, I distinctly remember sending the email, sending the real estate listing, saying, hey, what do you think about this? And getting feedback on that. And
that was a fun conversation.
It was. And
what do you think about this? I said, that's a great big ass piece of property.
And I think the thing that's been part of the hardest thing for me is it's hard to sometimes ask for help, even if you're paying for help and you want to grow, you want to be successful, you want to make right decisions. But I think it's really easy to suffer in silence, to think I either can just figure it out myself, I don't want to bother anybody. And so for me, I think the thing that's really helped me to create the best lifestyle that I've been able to create so far has been just really seeking out advice, not being too proud to admit when I don't know certain things, be okay with making mistakes. Even though we've had plenty of conversation, I've still made a few big mistakes that have had expensive ramifications to it. However, it's easier to look at the mistakes and not look at all the great things that have happened as part of that. So I really think, I look at the past 12, 13 years, where our life is now, where our vision is for the future. I think it's been really maximized by being willing to ask for help, being humble enough to make that ask, and then receptive enough to actually hear it, and then filter it through your values, filter it through your spouse and your kids and all these different things that are always changing. Our life has really changed in the past, we've known each other 12 years, but now we first met when I don't even know if I was married yet.
No.
And then now I have 3 kids that are going to be 7, 5, and 2. So it's a very, very rapidly changing situation, and our needs have changed, our coaching relationship has changed, the things we get coached on have changed probably a lot more than, pre-kids, the things and the lifestyle that I was living, the travel, the business focus to an extent is very different than the conversations we have now when you're filtering it through, 3 different little people. And that's coming from Richard, doesn't have any biological children himself.
Yeah.
So
I know all about them. Just ask me. I'll tell you. You know, well, Adam, you know, he's a textbook case of not only creating extraordinary success. So I remember the first time he drove 9 hours to have breakfast with me. I didn't know that. I just said, hey, you want to have breakfast? And he showed up and we talked for 2 or 3 hours. And I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to go home. Where do you live? Red Deer, Alberta. And I was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I said, well, I don't know where is that? Way up by Edmonton, 9 hours. My gosh, he drove 18 hours to have breakfast. So why would he do that? Well, he wanted some input on how to build his business. And at the time, I don't remember, you probably remember, but I'm just like, from that breakfast to your peak in business, what's the multiple of your growth? Like, you were one of those young people that came into a ton of success, way more than you ever expected.
Yep.
And that's dangerous, right? Like, crazy stuff can happen from that. And so Adam handled that beautifully. I mean, just beautifully handled the growth, all the income, all the accolades. I mean, you're like famous all over the world, in high demand as a speaker on some of the biggest stages, 10,000 people, and they want Adam to come and speak all over the world. That's pretty heady stuff to handle. But then on the back half of it, which is, you know, what we talk about mostly today, is, okay, what do we do with that kind of success? Because, you know, we always think it's going to last forever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily last forever. And so how do you prepare financially for having a family and securing your family and making good investments, and at the same time setting up a lifestyle that you love, that's authentic, that actually works for you? And you're about to put an exclamation mark on a journey of investments, real estate. I mean, you invested in some big stuff and it paid off.
Yeah.
Like millions, like that, right? But then what's it going to look like a couple of years from now? Different, right?
Yeah.
Simple.
And I think about all, you know, you're talking about the profits that are there to be made and the real estate. I don't think there's been one transaction that I've done that I probably didn't run by you first.
No, you send me these very detailed emails.
Very detailed, and then I'll get back and like, do it, or what's taking you so long? But that's been like, that's in itself, if you look at what the cost of coaching is and the investment into that versus the return on the financial end. You asked before what the X is. I think it's probably about 25X from the breakfast to the peak.
Wow.
And that's like in just a pure business sense. But if I look at what my net worth was when we first met to now, it would be more than
But you can't put a multiple. You didn't have much net worth.
No, true. Well, you can lie with stats or make it sound really good, like 1,000% multiple.
Yeah.
But it's I don't know. It's been priceless because it just really lets you make more confident decisions. Through a filter, you know, you've got a few years on me, so you've invested a lot more stuff, you've lived a lot more life, and so instead of just making mistakes and then having to learn from them, I can, before I make a mistake, and say, hey, what mistake do you see I'm going to make here? And we can hopefully avert it. Crisis averted before it happens, which saves a lot of stress, a lot of money, frustration.
And in my own life, you know, a lot of people know I didn't go to college. I barely got out of high school. Not because I was stupid, I just wasn't interested in that kind of education. But, you know, I guess I could have, if I had the money, or my parents had the money, or had good grades or something, I could have acquired an education that would have been worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But instead, not intentionally or consciously, it's just the journey I was on, I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaches like me, for me. And I can't even imagine where I would be. I mean, I can't imagine, because it'd be scary and ugly where I'd be financially, physically, emotionally. Certainly wouldn't be living right here. So that's what we have to say about coaching. It can 5x, 10x, 25x, or you can't even put a number on the value.
Because some of it is definitely not financial.
No, for sure, yeah.
The relationships, lifestyle design, like it's not just investing to get a return. Some of the investments I've made have probably not been the best financial investment, but they were made with the intention of getting a lifestyle benefit that is intangible on paper sense. It might not be the best ROI from a dollar sense, but from a memory, living a life that is truly to what you want to live with the people you want to do it with. There's a lot of investments that have been made that have really got even better ROIs than that.
Like our potash investment.
Yeah.
We at one time thought we were going to be potash millionaires.
So again, not all the advice you get is good advice. Hey, let's invest in this. That was maybe not one of our finest investments, but it didn't ruin us.
You didn't lose any money.
I didn't lose. I got out.
I'm still in it.
Still in it.
What about that powder blue Lotus? How'd that work out?
That worked out good. Again, it didn't make me money on paper. It's a technically depreciating asset, but it's got car seats. The kids love it. Been able to do great dream car rallies and stuff to volunteer in the community, and it's a fun car to drive. So yeah, that's another email.
Hysterical. Yeah. What do you think about buying this car? Go for it. You only live once. You can always sell it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still could.
Well, thank you all for listening to us, our chat about coaching, and encourage you, find a coach, somebody you respect, admire, trust, that you're willing to invest in, and you'll get a tenfold return on your investment.
Make the ask, because the breakfast, which started it all, I sent an email to you, because his email is in the back of his book. I read his book, emailed you, was surprised to get a response from you, and then I just made the ask, and it worked out. It wasn't too big of an ask, pop in, made the drive.
Breakfast? Yeah.
And look where it took us, so
make the ask.
Make the ask.